People who work in it, what's the wildest thing you've discovered or had to do while at work? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. Back when I first started ages ago, a woman called in and said, "My mouse isn't working." I asked her if it was wired or wireless. "I don't know, why would I know that?" "What do you mean? Is it wired or not?" "Is there a wire on it?" I said, "I don't know. This isn't my job to know, it's yours." So I asked her if she picked it up and walked away, how far would she get? I was the one that got in trouble. Story 2. Big company, couple of hundred users, each with their own network drive, hot desking scenario, so they could get their docs, no matter where they sat in the call center rest of building. The server that housed the home drives, as we called them, was running low on disk space, so we sent out emails to everyone saying the shared drives were for work docs only, and that we could see images, MP3s, MOV files, etc., and that these should be deleted if not work-related. Fast forward a few weeks and the disk usage has gone down, but still really close to full, so the lowest paid member of staff, me, was to find the worst culprits and report back on what the largest content in their drive was. The very first person I checked had a huge drive, most under 500 megabytes. This was 10 seconds GBS. Sorted by size, 2 gigabytes.mov file, named totally randomly with numbers. Like 93829084432, opened it CPFML. The subsequent police-led show was not what I needed to be involved in at 19 years old. Story 3. Walked all the way across campus in the Florida heat just to tell a PhD professor that the reason their monitor kept turning off every few seconds was because the computer was in fact turned off. Then got yelled at for her classroom not being ready for her when she came in. Also was told to make sure these projectors aren't in the building by the end of day. Don't care where they go, just that they aren't here tomorrow. By my boss. It was more expensive to buy new bulbs for them than to just buy new ones. So that's how I ended up with 5 projectors that lasted years. Story 4. Got called to investigate unplug a laptop that had viruses detected on it. When I arrived, this laptop was in the open with the login information taped to the desk. This laptop was given local admin privileges by someone before my time for some application. This was in an office area that was always unlocked and 10 steps from the entrance of the building. No one was in the office as they went home early, including management. On a laptop filled with everyone's information, SSN, names, addresses, and more, LimeWire, games, pornography, and more. The two who worked on this laptop just used it like their personal laptop with occasional work being done on it. The laptop was promptly disconnected from the network, confiscated, and returned for analysis. Yes, there was spyware, and we don't know how much personal info got out. This was reported to higher management. The two who used it disappeared quickly and quietly after that. Story 5. My husband does not work in it, but he should. He worked on a facilities team at an expensive private school, and one day got a ticket to remove trash, a 75-inch TV. He approached the head of the IT department asking why he needed to trash it when he had just installed it brand new. The head of it told him it won't stop shutting off. My husband loaded it into the work van and dropped it at our house instead. Later he came home, plugged it in, and turned off the 10 minutes automatic power off timer. We got a fancy TV for free. Story 6. This wasn't at work but at a LAN party. Had a guy in a CS 1.6 tourney had a system was constantly overheating and locking up. Opened it up to find it caked with dust. A few people split the job of cleaning it, and I was given the CPU heatsink. I didn't have my tools, and all I had was some plastic utensils and with what was in the bathroom. The sink was too small to get the heatsink under it, and the knife was not getting it off. So I just stuck the heatsink in the relatively clean toilet. All of the caked dust and gunk came off. I was able to shake it off, put it under the air dryer, apply some thermal compound on it, and put it back in the machine. The other guys got the rest of the system cleaned up. I didn't tell him I flushed his heatsink in the toilet. Story 7. I walked into the office one morning to my CEO asking me to follow him to his office. He pulled out a stack of paper, almost a full ream, of printed porn from our network printer and asked me to find out who sent it. Back then, most of our office staff had their own desk printers. I assumed that this person had worked late and meant to print out these pics on his local printer. Our CEO only used the network printer near his office and gets to work well before everyone else. Obviously, dude was fired. Story 8. Emergency flight from California to Georgia because they were getting alarms on their new system, flew out at like 4 a.m., got on site at 9 a.m., told to come back at 9 p.m., got a hotel, slept, came back on site 9 p.m. Customer stated that someone used a cable from the PDU to log into the system but plugged it in wrong when done, but they were no longer getting alerts. I looked at it, it was correctly cabled. Apparently someone had noticed and put it back correctly. Left site and flew back home. 23-hour day just to look at a cable label. They probably got charged like $10,000 to have me go on site, if not more. Story 9. I used to do at work for a scrap company. These scrap companies are notorious for losing power because they're always in terrible parts of town with infrastructure that's falling apart. They rented a backup generator, but it only put out a certain amount of power. And I had to do this Apollo 13 mission to get as much of the network as I could up. But if we plugged in too many things, the generator's breaker would flip and we'd have to restart. The building itself also wasn't fully powered, so I was doing this while the lights were flickering in 90 and I'd hate with no air. No light or air circulation in the IT closet. We had to prop the door open to get any semblance of cooling into the closet. Story 10. As a consultant software dev, I got called into a client office on a Saturday to help fix a hardware issue because the regular IT staff was non-responsive. They sucked. We were changing a bad memory card on a server and my boss asked me to unplug the top box. I was averaging about 90 HRS a week, so I was cooked and I unplugged the wrong machine. This was a travel agency call center doing $1 million a day, and this machine was in the call center server stack. We freaked out, of course, and my boss walked out onto the call center floor, quietly asking if everything was running okay, laugh out loud. Luckily, it was a benign marketing server, and everything was okay. Lesson learned, don't let the software dev in the server room. Story 11, an outgoing software dev put an Easter egg in our ERP before he left. Anyone who typed the word raptor in any text field would have a raptor from Jurassic Park fly across their screen with a loud screech. Only 3 of us on the team knew about it. Little over a year later, during a demo of our asset management module, a manager asked about inputting vehicles. The trainer asked what kind of vehicle he drove, an F-150 Raptor. So the trainer, as a demo, input the vehicle description, and bam! Roar! Comes screeching with this Raptor flying across the screen in a room of 50 to 60 people, including our CBO and most of our upper managers. My wife is one of those upper managers, so she sees me in the back of the room trying so hard not to laugh. She gave me this look like, really? Our boss just calmly said, well, that's not a bug or a feature. Looks like we'll need to fix that. He had no idea. The next day he went back through the commits and saw where it originated. During an after-action meeting, he kept it low-key and just assigned it to me and this other dev who knew about it to take it out. He finished by saying, and please don't put Easter eggs in our code. Story 12. Received a call from the FBI Cybercrime Division. Said, be at a conference room at one of my healthcare clients in an hour. Got my team together and showed up. Was informed that a large medical practice that used our software had been infiltrated by a hacker that had posted a video of himself on some kind of dark site walking around their large office. 500,000 square feet, and bragging about his expertise and claiming to own our network. They played us the video. He was employed there as the night security guard. We quickly saw that he did not gain access to our net. They informed us that he had given his notice and his last day would be Thursday. He has posted a bunch of threats to the dark site about what would happen that next holiday weekend after he was gone. It did turn out that he had gained access to the network of the surgery center in the same building. And he has used that access to remotely disable the HVAC system for hours at a time during surgical procedures. On his last day, the FBI rolled up at night, waited for the older security guard to leave the building to patrol the parking garage, then knocked out all power and lights to the big building, lock all the doors, pulled up in about 8 black vans. About 30 guys with submachine guns jump out, sweep the building, arrest him, and quickly leave. We were counseled to shut down the network for a week, in case he had planted time bombs to be triggered near the 4th of July. We did. Turns out he had a young wife and 2 kids, was offered a plea deal for 3 years in prison. Decided to go to trial. I was a witness. He was sentenced to 11 years. A twist. The pastor at his church testified as a character witness. Said he had never had an issue with him. Turns out the FBI had hacked the church computers with a warrant and found that he had been fired as the IT guy at the church. Pastor was charged with perjury and sentenced to prison too. Story 13. I worked at a computer repair store for a while out of college. One time, a guy brought in a PC and said that he had a virus on it after looking at porn. He was very explicit about his porn use and said that he kind of has a problem. I didn't think much of it because we see that stuff all the time. I took his desktop in, put it away, and didn't think about it again. Fast forward about a day later, we get to his PC in the queue and I fire it up on our bench, which is open for people to see us work. A new customer comes in and we start talking about her problem. All of a sudden, I hear insane moaning and turn around to see that the guy has like a 2-minute screensaver that somehow moans and flips through dozens of extremely hardcore porn in rapid succession. In a brief flash, me and this lady look at each other, and I look back to see Bukake to DP anal, DP vaginal to insane bondage with 20 body piercings tied together. I ran over and pulled the plug and profusely apologized to the lady. She was surprisingly cool about it and said, "Yeah, I think that guy needs more help than I do right now." I ended up running an initial Malwarebytes scan on it that found 38,000 infections, and his hardcore porn screensaver was still intact after we were done with remaining scans with other products and manual deletions. He was very thankful, and I never saw him again, lol. Story 14. Very early in my career, back when I was still working an entry-level job, I had called in sick with stomach flu. I was throwing up every hour to hour and a half, had been all day. I got called by my boss and told it was an emergency, that her computer wasn't working, and she had something she needed done in an hour, so I needed to come in and fix it, sick or not. So, in between bouts of puking, I drove across town and plugged the power cord for her monitor back in. Not even the end in the monitor itself, the end in the wall. She hadn't even taken 2 seconds to make sure it was plugged in before she dragged me in with stomach flu to fix it for her. Story 15. About 25 years ago, working at a large multinational company, one of the Italian engineers brought in a laptop he had been issued less than a week ago. Were he not an actual person, he would have been an offensive Italian stereotype. "My laptop, she doesn't work." He actually said that. Anyway, we took a look at this machine. It had, for the time, an incredibly large 10 GB HD, every kilobyte of which was full of low-res 90 seconds internet porn. Unless he was downloading it at work or transferred it from another machine, I have no idea how he could have had time to download that much off dial-up. After playing a couple rounds of what was actually a pretty good X-rated Tetris variant, we deleted the porn and gave him back the machine with a warning. That man was truly a pioneer. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like more of this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below. I'll see you in the next video.